I'll never forget the day Sandra Hutchins, our HOA president, showed up at my doorstep with a manila folder and calmly announced that she wanted access to my west-facing guest room, my home office, and, season depending, my sunroom. She said it like she was placing an order at a restaurant. What made it even weirder was the hand-drawn map she pulled out with arrows pointing to what she'd labeled suggested shared living zones in my house. I'm David Morrison, 45 years old, software architect who works remotely. I moved to Pine Valley Estates 3 years ago, drawn by the quiet streets and peaceful oak-lined sidewalks. I wanted solitude. What I got instead was a one-woman crusade to turn my home into a public amenity. Sandra, 62, had been running the HOA like her personal fiefdom for 7 years. Weekly newsletters filled with oddly specific rules about mailbox styles and lawn blade length. I kept my head down, kept my yard neat, and stayed off her radar. That is, until she found out I lived alone in a 4-bedroom house. Apparently, she'd been looking at old real estate listings and discovered that my home had abundant natural light and multiple unused spaces. That's when, according to my neighbor Tom, she started referring to my home at HOA meetings as underutilized community real estate. Then came the Monday that changed everything. I opened the door with my morning coffee in hand, and there was Sandra in her signature purple blazer, holding a formal-looking document titled Request for Spatial Reallocation. It proposed a new HOA initiative where homeowners with extra space would open their homes during high-demand community periods, including book club season, allergy season for people needing clean air sanctuaries, eclipse season for optimal viewing parties. I thought it was a joke until I looked up and saw she was dead serious. When I politely declined, she launched into a lecture about community spirit and accused me of undermining neighborhood harmony. I closed the door. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. Over the next few weeks, things escalated quickly. First, I got noise complaints about my keyboard and coffee machine. Then came more creative violations, unneighborly parking, my car in my own driveway, inaccessible energy because I didn't host socials, and unwelcoming recycling bin placement. She even stood on my lawn one day with a hand-painted sign reading, "Share the space, selfish." Trying to be civil, I attended the next HOA meeting. That was a mistake. Sandra had prepared a slideshow presentation featuring floor plans of my home and a community room schedule. Mondays, book club in the guest room. Tuesdays, meditation in the sunroom. Wednesdays, community planning in my office. She even compared my living space to shared apartments in post-war Eastern Europe. No one on the board openly challenged her. That's when I hired a lawyer. Jennifer Walsh, a seasoned property attorney, laughed out loud during our first call. "This is the most ridiculous HOA claim I've ever heard." And she meant it. We sent Sandra a cease and desist. She responded by filing a grievance demanding shared access to my underutilized spaces, complete with a seasonal calendar that included my master bathroom on election night to count votes. It got worse. She started showing up at my house uninvited, peering in windows, trying door handles. One night, she brought a locksmith, claiming she had HOA authority to install an emergency access point. I called the police when I caught her in my backyard with a contractor discussing a new exterior door for community entry. At that point, we sued. We filed a civil suit for harassment, trespassing, emotional distress, and attempted unlawful seizure of private property. The local paper ran the story. HOA president demands spare bedrooms from homeowner. It went viral. The trial was surreal. Sandra arrived with architectural sketches of my home, PowerPoint on communal living, residents testifying they needed my sunroom for seasonal depression. Her lawyer argued that HOA agreements implied a spirit of resource sharing. The judge wasn't having it. When Sandra took the stand, she presented a color-coded map of my house with a rotating usage schedule. The judge asked if she understood the concept of private property. She replied, "Property is a social construct." My attorney dismantled everything. We showed security footage of Sandra trying to enter my home, HOA meeting minutes where she discussed repurposing my office, and emails where she calculated how many yoga mats could fit in my living room. The verdict? $75,000 in damages to me, $40,000 in legal fees paid by the HOA, a permanent restraining order barring Sandra from coming within 500 feet of my property, and, memorably, the judge added, this includes coming within 50 feet of the plaintiff's guest towels. Sandra was removed as HOA president and banned from serving on any HOA board in the state for 10 years. As the judge read the ruling, Sandra turned pale. She muttered something about community spirit before breaking down in court. Since then, things have been quiet. The HOA has new leadership, my guest room remains mine, and the sunroom is now just for me, my coffee, and the sunrise.